video, it is going to be a true crime ASMR. I did some research on a serial killer, and it is quite terrifying. This is going to be my first and my last true crime ASMR, but it is going to be some gruesome information, so discretion is advised. But go ahead, get comfortable, chill, and relax as we get into this video. This happened in Anchorage, Alaska. He was just an ordinary person. He was a successful businessman. He owned a bakery here in Anchorage, Alaska. He had a family and everything was going for him. So he had everything to lose. This man's name was Robert Hansen, also known as Bob. So everybody called him Bob. Before he moved up to Anchorage, Alaska, he used to live in Iowa. He was born and raised in Esterville, Iowa. And before he moved up here, he used to be, and he served in the military, and he also worked for his dad. His dad was a disciplinarian, and he was very strict, and he used to have him work long hours. In high school, Bob was very unpopular. He was sort of a loner, you can say, and he was very unliked by all the girls. He had scars on his face, pimple scars, and he had glasses, and he also had a stutter, and he was a social misfit. So that held on to this man, and he thought about it, and he had some history of arson. He actually burned down his school garage for the bus garage. He burned that down, and he went to jail. Well, he got married 2 times in his lifetime, and I'm very surprised he even got married the way they describe him. His first marriage, when he went to jail, he got divorced. Bob became an avid hunter. He became so good at hunting that he won some medals for hunting, and he would always boast, and he would always brag about his skillful hunting. So he had history of killing animals. After years living in Esterville, Iowa, and divorcing his wife and became good at hunting, he moved to Anchorage, Alaska, because of the wilderness, and also to get a new start in life, and plus it is very known for hunting up here in Alaska. Bob started spiraling here in Alaska. Bob had a lot of taxidermy all throughout his house, and he had a cabin out in the Aklutna area. bakery, following his father's footsteps. So during the summer, he would send his family out somewhere just for the summer. And that was his getaway to abduct, rape, and terrorize women. Bob Hansen, surprisingly married with 2 children, was able to hide the fact that he was a mass murderer. While his family was away for the summer, he would abduct and torture them in his home or a motel, or go to his cabin. And he used to target prostitutes and sex workers. And he used to always pick them up in downtown area. Hansen was a seemingly good citizen. He used to hide it very well, especially because he had a bakery, kids, and 2 wives. So he would have women be deceived by telling them that he was a photographer and that he could pay the woman to be photographed. And that was his sly way of getting these women into his car. He was about 5'6", a good hunter. He seemed like a solid citizen that would not be a killer. And just like hunting animals, he would hunt these women, literally. After he raped these women, he would let them go into the wilderness, where he brought them with his Super Cub plane. It's those little tiny planes that he owned, and he would use the little airport over by downtown, Merrill Airport, and he would fly the women out to his cabin or the wilderness and release them like a sick, twisted game. He would use a .223 caliber rifle and also a knife. After he gave them the slightest hope to run away, after he let them go, he would run after them just behind them and hunt them down to kill them after he raped them and tortured them. One of these women that he abducted was named Sherry Morrow. He told her that he was a professional photographer, and he would meet up with these women at a local restaurant, and he would wait for them to see if they were alone. And after he went to go retrieve these women to his car, he would take a handcuff that was already handcuffed by the door, handcuff them, and put a gun to their head. And it became like reflex to him. After putting Sherry Morrow into the plane, he flew her out and released her, and then hunted her down and killed her and buried her around Oklutna area. Majority of these women were found in the Oklutna area, so by the Oklutna River, and that was his popular hunting ground to catch and release and hunt them down like animals. So Sherry Morrow is one of the victims that were murdered by Bob Hansen, and another victim was found near the Oklutna was Paula Golding. Actually, a lot of women were being found, and the majority of these women were sex workers and prostitutes. So the troopers were suspecting a mass murderer. Little did they know that it was Robert Bob Hansen. rest of all these women that went missing. Her name was Cindy Paulson. She was the one that got away. Cindy was 17 at the time. She was abducted, raped, and tortured her on handcuffs hanging on the ceiling. He attempted to fly her out, so he brought her over to the airport and was going to put her in his Super Cup little plane. But she saw the opportunity to run away while he was fixing something for the plane. She ran away and flagged down another person after her runaway. They dropped her off at her motel. The front desk called 911 and she told the troopers everything, and they did not believe her at the time. She was a prostitute and her occupation made the troopers not really rely on what she had to say because of little evidence. But this one trooper really did believe her, and they were able to puzzle piece all the investigations and all of the women who were missing to Cindy Paulson. Cindy Paulson told them whatever she seen on the walls. There was lots of animals, and they told her everything, and she was able to point out the gun that he used and that he had. But she told the troopers everything, and one trooper really believed in her. His name was Glenn Holmes, and those two people are the heroes, because the trooper that believed in Cindy Paulson was able to work together with the other troopers and also FBI agents to track him down. The troopers didn't have any evidence to incarcerate Robert Hansen. Cindy Paulson alone was not able to lock him up. They knew a mass murderer was out there, and Robert Hansen was a good suspect for the troopers, so they had the FBI agent profiler help them. They all worked together on this case, and so they were able to find 48 pages worth of information from his history, from where he lived, and he was a known arsonist, and also he was really good at hunting and killing animals, and he also had a couple of victimless crimes along with abduction and rape of women. So when the troopers were searching his house, they found the .223 rifle up in his attic that shot Sherry Morrow and also Paula Golding, the gun that was described by Cindy Paulson. So that alone was able to incarcerate Bob Hansen for Cindy Paulson's case, but they wanted him to be in prison for a mass murdering case. So they looked everywhere in his home for what the profile called trophies. He would have trophies of these women, of the murders that he had, and they did find those as well by his bedside, and also a map. And that was very, very, very chilling, because on the map was all the pinpoints of a lot of bodies around in that area, and also the missing women. For Cindy Paulson's case, he was able to go to jail, but they also found evidence of 4 Joanna Messina, Sherry Morrow, Paula Golding, and an unidentified body that was named Eklutna Annie. This case and search was the largest in Alaskan history, and Hansen confessed to those 4 murders. But the troopers believed that he was running away from the lower 48s for more homicides, and Hansen led the troopers to 17 grave sites on his map. Only 11 victims were ever recorded. Robert Bob Hansen, also known as Butcher Baker, killed 17 to 21 victims in Anchorage, Alaska alone. And the troopers believed that there was more victims involved. He raped more than 31 women. He had 3+ victimless crimes, 1 attempted murder, and 1 attempted rape. Between 1971 through 1983, Hansen was on a 12-year killing spree. After all that happened, they locked him up and was sentenced 471 years in prison without parole. He died on August 21st in 2014 at the Alaska Regional Hospital. Just recently, in October 21st, 2021, the Alaskan State Troopers found another victim that has been identified. For 37 years, the unidentified victim was named Horseshoe Harriet. Her name has been found to be Robin Beckley. She would have been 19 years at the time when Robert Hansen was active killing. So Robert Bob Hansen was a twisted, sick, and sadistic killer. He was a mass murderer, but not glorifying the killer. They made a movie called The Frozen Gound. You can find it on Netflix, and that was to honor all of the women, known and unknown. So that was a true crime ASMR. I'll link the information where I got them from. Alrighty, my forget-me-nots. Sleeping Lady here, ASMR. Until